Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Attention in the barn. Good evening, everybody. We're about ready to get started with our Breeding Gilt show. We've got quite a few classes this year, which looks good. I want to go ahead and start first with our invocation given to us tonight by Miss Jessica Kurz. If everybody would please stand at this time and remove your hats, I'd appreciate it.
Good evening. If you'll please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight with gracious hearts. Thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. Thank you for the exhibitors and for the animals. Lord, we just pray that you would watch over them, that you would keep them safe. Lord, win or lose, we pray that all the glory would be given to you. We're so grateful that we live in this nation and in this great state. We pray for the safety of the men and women who defend the freedoms that we enjoy every single day. Dear Lord, we just pray all of this in your heavenly name. Amen.
Amen.
Very nice. Thank you, Miss Kelly. And now we'll have our national anthem being sung by Miss Kelly Yates.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. That was wonderful. We're about ready to get started with our Breeding Gilt show. Our first class of pigs will be Burke Gilts. These will be faired from June the 5th through June the 27th. While we're waiting for those pigs to come up to the ring, I wanted to introduce you to our judge, the gentleman out there in the maroon cap. His name is Charlie Hody, He's a retired ag teacher of 35 years at Burton High School. He's a 1980 graduate of Texas A&M University. He's judged pig shows in numerous states, enjoys working with young people, raises show pigs with his two sons, Jason and Sam. Mr. Hody, we welcome you to our event tonight and have at 'em.
Back at it.
Our first class of Berkshire Gilts, we have 5 entries. This evening, we also have with us there it is. We have a special royalty here tonight. We were missing one person right now, but the lady in front of me right now, Her name is Lily Jans. She's the Guadalupe County Fair Duchess. She will be assisting in half-past knot with ribbons and banners. We appreciate her help. And also Madison Mays, who's just arrived. Thank you. And she is our Guadalupe County Fair Princess. So thank you, ladies, for your assistance tonight.
Someone's going 45 on 78. Oh, like with not past. There's just traffic and
You're just on time.
Very good. Be safe. Glad you're here safe. We got
Well, good afternoon. Certainly a pleasure to be here. Judged your market show here a few years back, and the quality was exceptionally good. And got a really good start here on your first class of bucks. Really like this gilt to win this class here. The young lady here in the white shirt. Here's a gilt that really looks like a breeding type of individual in terms of being big and her kind, and in terms having that good, soft, pliable middle. Yet she's elevated out at the shoulder. She's extremely good and functional and sound off both ends in terms of her structure and her design and how she's made. And then she gives you a little look to her about her head and her skull. I think an exceptionally kind of gilt to win the class. I really like the one that comes out here in second also. When she first stepped in, my first impression was, well, this one's going to be hard to get around. Really a good gilt, maybe a little harder made than what we have, maybe a little more true muscle than what we have in that gilt that wins the class, but not quite as soft and pliable through that center. She's just not quite as functional in terms of what I think in her movement and flexible out of her hip is what we have in our class winner. But our really high quality kind of gilt we have there in second. As is the one that comes out in third. I think she follows suit very well in what we have in our gilt that comes in second, a really kind of a maybe a little more terminal type look to her, if I could use that terminology. She might want to get a little flatter about out in her pastures up front, but she's really good in terms of her shape. She got a great look to her. I think she really could make some really good bears. Just not quite has as much depth or soft and pliable through her center. What we have in the two gilts right ahead of her. And the gilt that's coming out here in fourth, it gives you that big soft center. I think in terms of her structure and design, maybe could be a little heavier about duty in her bone work. But here's a gilt that does give you that big center body, big soft in the middle. I think she's a pig raiser. Maybe just style her up in her bone work, clean her up about her head and her jawline. Little gilt that comes out here in fifth, certainly one that we like for a lot of things. She just given up a little bit of poundage today in this particular class. She's made right. She's elevated up to her shoulder. I like that length and extension she has through her front. She's just given up a little bit in terms of size and some muscle in this particular class. Good start. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Our placings in our first class of Burke Gilts. In fifth place, we have Maddie Schoolcraft with the Marion FFA. Fourth place goes to Harley Frost, Navarro FFA. Third place goes to Emma Smith, New Berlin 4-H. Second place goes to Braley Wise of the Clemens FFA. And first place goes to Lily Zimmermer of the Navarro FFA. Congratulations to all y'all. I also want to announce that as in every year with our breeding show and our market show, the Seguin Swine Breeders will donates a $100 check to the highest placing pig in that class that was purchased from one of the breeders of the Seguin Swine Breeders. The list of breeders go as follows: Real Hog Farm, Kelso Genetics, Marshall Stry, Robert Hebner, Daggy Show Pigs, St. Hedwig Feeds, Phi Show Pigs, Alderson Farms, 4L Show Pigs, Chelsea Show Pigs, MT Hart Livestock, Corcoran Genetics, Bubba Eckert, Beck Show Pigs, James Langemeyer, Ryan Coulterman, and Quick Pin Genetics. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's give these guys a big round of applause. They're going to put some money out here today, tonight, and tomorrow. So it's a great organization, great bunch of breeders. As I just said, the last class, the winner of the $100 bump check will be going to Braley Wise. Her pig was bred by Real Hog Farms. We now have Class 2 Berkshire breeding gilts in the ring right now. We have 5 entries. These gilts were faired from July 1st to July 7th of 2025. Thank you. I want to give a shout out to our friends over here with Jeffries Livestock Marketing. They will be live streaming the pig show tonight, the Gilt show, and tomorrow the market show as well. You can find them located on YouTube and on Facebook as well. So if you're not able to attend, you can all sit there and watch it from your home or business. Thank you.
got an excellent pair here in this second class. And they're really, really close in terms of, and just judge's opinion, they're real sorting tools when we get them out here and you just let them take off through the center part of the ring. Your class winner here directly in front of me really takes a long step off both ends. She's really flexible and very good out of her hip, and that's the difference between the two, in my opinion, in this particular class. She's elevated up through her shoulder. She's got some length and extension, and she's clean about her jawline out through the front of her body. Get on top of her. She's got a big old cage in her, and she really knows how to use a good functional back leg. The Gilt in second, very good. Again, here's one that when she steps in, I thought, well, this one would be hard to get around. She's really clean about her head and neck. She's really good in terms of her cage. When you get on top of her, she's got tons of muscle, very well presented. We're getting behind her. She just doesn't flex as good out of her hip and movement as compared to our class winner. But again, a very high quality kind of breeding Gilt we have right there in second place. Bring it out here in third, we get another Gilt that's got a lot of body in her. I don't see her quite as elevated up through the front third of her body, particularly the point of her shoulder. And she gets a little chunky and shorter about her face. We can elevate her up through her front end, clean her up in her jawline. She's really good in terms of her flexibility. I like that about her a lot. She's big in her cage. A good breeding piece here. Got to clean her up in that area. The Gilt comes out next. Has really got some good pieces to her, but in terms of her movement from behind, she wants to stab to the right and the left a little bit. She's not as easy out of her hip as what she needs to be in this particular class. There's a ton of good in her. She's big in her top, clean in her front. Just need to make her go a little better. And again, we get a Gilt that comes in next. She's just losing some poundage in this particular class. She's made right. There's a lot of good in her. She just gets a little small in this particular class. Give these youngsters a round of applause. A very competitive, good class of Berks again. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Hody. Our placings in Class 2 Berkshire Gilts. In fifth place, we have Barrett Coleman, Navarro FFA. Fourth place goes to Nolan Warren, Navarro 4-H. Third place goes to Clara Real, New Berlin 4-H. Second place goes to Emily Clutter, Marion FFA. And your class winner was Briley Cluthus of the Marion FFA. Your county bred Seguin swine breeder Bruncheck will be coming to Claire Real. Her pig was bred by Real Hog Farms. Congratulations to you all. Coming in the ring now will be our Class 3 Berkshires. These gilts were faired between July 14th and August 3rd.
this third class. I think we have one that surfaces quite easily, in my opinion. Here's a gilt that really balances up extremely good and put her in motion, and everything kind of stays together and fits. She's elevated up front. She's got that good, clean look and really looks like a true breeding piece, and very high quality on the line, very fresh and very well presented. I really like your class winner there, gilt that really has no holes in her. It gets really close here between second and third. I think it's a little give and take here. The gilt here in second, just a little bit prettier out through the front end, gives us a little more extension. Really has a great big cage in her, very sound and doable. Like to stouten up in terms of her bone work, in terms of her stoutness of skull and bigger foot size, but really a nice gilt in terms of her overall makeup. The gilt in third just gets a little chunkier about her face again and out through her skull. Third. Yeah, but a really high quality kind of gilt in terms of being big in her center and got that soft, pliable middle that's really going to make a breeding piece. I think she's a pig raiser. We just got to fix her up. She comes with the clothes at the ground a little bit from the knee to the foot. But in terms of a big cage, big, soft kind of middle gilt, you really have to appreciate that. We're getting to a pair of hogs coming out here in fourth and fifth that are very similar in kind, and if they both come out, they gave up a little poundage in terms of size. They're a little frailer in their overall structure and design, not quite as heavy in their muscle, and maybe when they wing out right at you, want to narrow up just a little bit at the base of their chest, but good-looking gilts that profile extremely good from the side, just needs to be opened up, particularly through the center part of the body. And the same thing what we have in the gilt in fifth. I think she's made extremely good in terms of side profile point of view. Just need to open her up or stouten her up in terms of some bone work.
Placings in our third class of Berkshire Gilts. Fifth place goes to Valerie Pedraza, Clemens FFA. Fourth place goes to Madeline Newton, Clemens FFA. Third place goes to Allison Smith, Navarro FFA. Second place goes to Palin Vance of the Steel FFA. And your class winner is Cheyenne Moat with the Marion FFA. Cheyenne will also receive the $100 bump check from the Seguin Swine Breeders. Her pig was bred by St. Hedwig Feed to Frank Koviak family. Congratulations to you all. We'll now be judging for our champion and reserve champion Berkshire Breeding Gilt.
So getting our champion drive. Let's give these three youngsters a big round of applause, if you could, please. Very good set. Extremely deep. I thought your Berkshire was extremely good. And we got three out here at Gilt that really, and it doesn't have to be, but in this particular case, they all look very similar in kind. They're very fresh in their build. They're elevated up front. They're extremely good on their feet and legs, and they got some shape and muscle to them. They all look like they could lay down and raise some high-quality kind of pigs when you get them in the farrowing house. But with all that said, then you got one that's got a little more bells and whistles to her. Got a bigger arm, a little stouter about her skull, and just got a little more of an animal there compared to them all, these three in this particular class. The one that I think wins, and in my opinion, quite easily tonight, young lady here in the white shirt.
And your champion Berkshire Breeding Guild goes to Lily Zimmer, Navarro FFA. Congratulations to you. We'll now judge for our reserve.
You bring that second place out of that first class, and a little different kind of a gilt in this particular lineup here, but one that's got really high quality and maybe a little more terminal in terms of the look, and maybe it's not as productive in her overall look, or quite as big an arm as what we have in that class winner. But I think a very high quality Berkshire gilt, and one that could really just lay in there and make sense. If she was a bear, she would be spot on what we're doing today. Young lady's second place gilt to be reserved.
And your reserve champion Berkshire Breeding Guild goes to Braylee Wise. Real Hog Farm was a breeder on that pig. We'll now go into our Chester breed of breeding gilts. Our first class, there's 5 entries. These gilts were faired from June the 15th through July the 7th. There's 5 entries. Attention everyone, if you're hungry, the Knights of Columbus concessions are open. They're next door here to the west of us right now. They have hamburgers, hot dogs, nachos, popcorn, Frito pies, French fries. Every dollar you spend goes right back into supporting our community. The Knights have worked hard all week long to bring you great food and service. We ask that if you need something, go ahead and go on over there and show your support. Thank you.
really good kind of Chester Gilt we have coming out here to win this class, and really one that's extremely sound and start with the basics from the ground up. She's big-footed, she's good in her bone work, elevated out through her shoulder. When you get this Gilt in motion, everything stays together. She opens up really good in her chest floor. She'll drive her right at you. She's got a big old cage and top in her. She's got some shape in her, but it's not hard and round. I think just a really exceptional kind of Gilt. Her underline is not 100% the best, but she's got enough to raise you 10 pigs, and I guess in the show pig business we would call that a plus, but certainly one that is made right, and I think wins quite easily. The one in seconds got some really good pieces. Here's one that's just big-footed and heavy bone and big and soggy, and she gets a little too soggy perhaps. She wants to just drop her top line ever so slightly, and we could just strengthen her out through her top, then she could challenge that class winner. We need to strengthen her up in that higher neck ham loin junction. She wants to get a little easy. The Gilt in third, another big body Gilt that's got some center to her and soft pliable middle. She's given up some foot size and bone, gets a little frailer in her overall makeup compared to those two big stout Gilts we have. As is the Gilt that comes in next. She too gets a little softer maybe, which is a good thing, but she gets a little bit frailer about her makeup. She isn't quite as easy or as comfortable out in the ring as what we have the Gilt directly ahead of her. The one that comes out next, simply put, needs to have a better running gear on it, needs to drop that flank, give it a softer look to her, and get her easier out of her hip and her movement. But there's some shape, there's some extension, some elevation to her, some good qualities here. We just get her, simply put, got to make her go better. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Our placings in our Class 1 Chesters. In fifth place, Bethany McCormick of Navarro 4-H. Fourth place goes to Luke Vogel, Navarro FFA. Third place goes to Ashlyn Kepsel of the Navarro FFA. Second place goes to Morgan Booker, Navarro FFA. And your class winner goes to Cheyenne Coleman with the Navarro FFA. Cheyenne will also receive our Seguin Swine Breeder $100 bump check. Her pig was bred by MT Hart Livestock. Congratulations. We're now coming in with our Class 2 Chesters. We have 4 entries. These gilts have been fed from July 17th through August the 6th.
Another really high quality gilt to win this class. And here's one that's really fresh, and I really like how she comes out and moves, and she's up-hitted, yet she got a big old cage in her. She's really square about her pin set. She tracks wide, both coming and going. She's adequate in her bone. She has a high quality kind of underline, just a really exceptionally good kind of made Chester gilt. I like how she's really got her head up, and she put her in motion. Everything stays together. Nice gilt there to win that class. The gilt in second, perhaps a little stouter, bigger footed kind of any individual, heavy bone, one that's given up a little poundage in terms of how big she can probably get, maybe borderline on getting moderate in her frame, which is not all bad. Just got to be a little careful about how we get one like this bred. But she has a high quality underline. I like how she's made. She wants to run downhill ever so slightly. We could fix her up in that regard. The gilt in third, if you drive her right at you, she wants to close at the ground too much for me. She wants to gather at the knee down to the foot. She's not quite as stout in her overall foot size and bone work. She's got great shape. She's elevated up front. She has plenty of muscle. Just need to fix her in her overall makeup and her soundness up through the front third of her body. The gilt that comes out here in fourth just gets a little bit in terms of being a little too tall and not quite wide enough, just to put in those simple turns. She gets a little narrow out through her chest, through the center parts of her blade, but she has some good things to her. Good in terms of her shape and her muscle. She's flexible. We just need to give this hog true more width all the way through the part of her body. Thank you.
Our placings in Class 2 Chester gilts. In fourth place, we have Mackenzie Scheidel, Navarro FFA. Third place, we have Harley Frost of the Navarro FFA. Second place goes to Chase Cologne, of the Marion FFA. And first place goes to Hayden Pompa, Clemens FFA. We will now judge for our champion Chester gilt.
Got an excellent pair out here, and both have some high qualities in terms of some design and structure and soundness and mobility and all those things. We get to looking at the underlines between these two, and the big gilt here, the young lady's driving, I think she might be even a 5 and 5, and that's getting a little short for someone who's looking to raise a lot of pigs. So the gilt on the far side of the ring, the young man, really got a high quality underline on that gilt, and I really like that about her. But with that said, she's also made a little better out through her front end. She's a little longer and leveler about her hip. I think she takes a longer stride off both ends. Young man right here will be your champion, Chester.
Champion Chester goes to Hayden Pompa, Clemens FFA. Congratulations. We will now judge for our reserve champion, Chester gilt.
Bring that second place gilt out. Really a stout, big-legged gilt with a big arm and a ton of good in her also. And I like some things about her, like her movement, her flexibility is extremely good. You get back into what's kind of functional, the functionality of these two gilts in terms of when we get them bigger and put them in the crates. And I just think in terms of how they're made and how they reach and how they go, I like the underlying quality on that second place gilt again. She'll be in reserve.
Reserve champion Chester gilt goes to Chase Cologne. Congratulations, Marion FFA. Entering our ring now, we'll have our Class 1 Duroc breeding gilts. These gilts have been faired between June 15th and June 18th.
Yeah, they changed the date.
We have 6 entries.
very interesting, excuse me, challenging class. But with that said, I found one that I can grab on pretty easily to start this particular class. Here's a real elevated gilt up to the point of her shoulder. She comes right at you with some true width. She stays true from her blade down to her knee, down to her toe. You get in behind her, she's got a big cage in her, and she leaves you really good in terms of some authority and really square and true. And just a kind of an exceptional gilt with a big cage in her, the sound and mobile, and got some look and extension out front. I like that one quite a bit. The gilt in second follows suit, very similar in kind. She just doesn't have much in her in terms of true width up high. You get right in behind her, she's not quite as good in the lower third as what we have that gilt that wins her class. But she too is a really one that balances good, elevated up front, got some extension out through the front end of her body, and got some cage in her. We like that about her. Just not quite as good as she leaves us as what we have in that gilt that wins the class. A bigger gilt, kind of a bigger outline gilt comes in third. She wants to maybe narrow up just a little bit, not quite as fresh down her top or as big in her cage. You get right in behind her. She too wants to just taper a little bit in her lower third, but a good design gilt that's extremely functional, very sound, really extended out through her front end. We just need to put more substance in it. Now the gilt comes in here, then every class has got what we call a problem hog, and here's one that I like a whole lot from a body standpoint. She's big in her cage, she's got some shape, she's square. When she drives right at me, she gets very off in terms of down from her knee down to her ankle. She really wants to get knees in, and so to speak, and from a structural standpoint, then she gets a little flat-footed up front, and she's light in her ankle, needs more bone for that particular gilt. Really nice in terms of shape, very well presented. Then you get another bigger outline kind of gilt that comes in. It just gets maybe a little stale or fresh today. I like to see her just a little bit fresher to look and make it take off and go a little bit. But there's some balance in this gilt, and I like some things about her too. Then the one coming out next here in sixth place, just from a side profile, she's got it, but you get right on top of her, you drive her right at you, and she leaves you. She just comes at you base narrow and leaves you the same. We could just take this gilt and just jerk her apart. She's made right, and her design just doesn't have enough true width.
Thank you, Judge. Our placings in our Class 1 Duroc gilts. In sixth place is Cade Kurz, Marion FFA. Fifth place goes to Claire Rial, New Berlin 4-H. Fourth place goes to Wesley Vance, Steel FFA. Third place goes to Jada Littlefield, Marion FFA. Second place goes to Ariana Zavala, Steel FFA. And your class winner goes to Elena Pena of the Steel FFA. Elena also had the county bred Seguin swine breeder $100 bump animal that was bred by St. Hilliard Feed, Frank Koviak family. Congratulations. We will now be bringing in our second class of Durocs. We have 5 entered. These gilts were faired from June 21st through June 23rd.
In this particular class, certainly we'll start with one that's from the athleticism of this particular gilt, and one that commands the ring and just goes up and down the ring. She certainly does that with quite ease and elegance in this particular class. She's really busted open when she comes at you, and she leaves you with a lot of shape and muscle. I really like how she takes a long step. She's extended out through her front end. She got some cage in her. She's adequate in her bone. She comes right at you. She wants to bring her toes in ever so slightly. Really doesn't bother me that much, but if you want to get real critical on a nice hog, fix her right there. The gilt in second, big, stout, kind of an elevated gilt that's really tall fronted. She gets a little shorter about her front third of her body. I like to see a little more flex as she goes away from behind, but a big stout gilt that we could just ease her up on her movement just a little bit, particularly through the front end. But it's really a big kind of a gilt. It's got a great big engine in her. You got to like this one a whole lot from that regard. The gilt coming out next, the front third of this one's body is extremely good, as good as any, if not better than any. She really tapers off and plays out when we get right in behind her in terms of her shape and her lower third. We lose a lot of bit of shape and muscle there. But a really good design gilt that's long and flexible, good in her design, just to give her a little more shape. We give up a little more poundage in this particular gilt. She's not quite wide enough or stout enough in her kind, particularly in her bone work compared to those gilts we have in class. And then we get a big outline kind of a gilt that's really big and raw, and she just needs to be opened up more, particularly as we study her when she comes right at you and she goes away. Just need to take her and jerk her apart. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Our placings in our Class 2 Duroc Gilts. In fifth place goes the Cadence Mercer, Seguin FFA. Fourth place goes to Dalton Pollock, Navarro FFA. Third place goes to Presley Blakely, Marion FFA. Second place goes to Stockton Young, Navarro 4-H. And your class winner goes to Briley Clufus of the Marion FFA. Briley will also receive the Seguin Swine Breeders $100 bump check. Her pig was bred by Kelso Genetics. Congratulations to you all. We will now be getting into our third class of Duroc breeding gilts. These gilts were farrowed from July the 1st through July the 5th. We have 7 entries. I've been asked to announce that we have a pair of, I'm going to call them ladies' glasses that were found here. If you're missing your glasses, I've got them here at the announcer's stand. Ladies' glasses. I don't know that there's prescription. They could be possibly. But anyway, breeder's glasses or whatever they might be. Thank you.
really good pair on this top end. But with that said, I really gravitate to this one right here, young lady in the green shirt. Here's a big bone, tall fronted, good looking gilt up through the front third of her body. And you study her out through the top of her cage and her top line. She's got some shape and some expansion up high. And yet you get in behind her and she tracks wide and good. And she's standing on quite a bit of bone in terms of stoutness. And that really separates the two in my mind in terms of that big stout back leg and big arm. Nice red hog there to start that class. Really, the gilt at in second is that really neat, pretty one in here. And I like them things about her. And she's really elevated up front and really sound. You get right in behind her. She wants to throw them hocks in just ever so slightly as she leaves you. Kind of a Duroc thing, but not too critical. But just certainly a elevated gilt up front. Got a killer look from the side. She's really fresh and very well presented and really smooth in terms of how she moves. Just not as quite as stout as we got in that class winner. The gilt in third can really get up and go, and that's what separates her from the one in fourth. She's really long and extended. She's not quite as stout down at the ankle in her foot as what we have in the ones ahead of her. But that's a really high-quality gilt in third. She's long. She's good. She wants to maybe come at me just a bit narrow maybe, but I think that gilt's got a lot of high quality in her also. High-quality kind of gilt we have there. The gilt coming out in fourth, and she's got all the power in the world and the center body and width. We get right in behind her, and she just wants to stab a little bit from the right to left. She's not as easy and as comfortable from behind as we put her in motion, but a really stout gilt that's made right. A very sound, heavy bone, really big one comes out. Just gets a little stale or coarser maybe in terms of in her body shape. Maybe a little flatter in her rib and not quite as big out when we get right in behind her in her pin set. But here's one that's heavy bone and sound and good looking. And as this gilt gets older, I think some times could come when this one's going to, if she expands a little bit, you turn her loose and just feed the heck out of her. This one got a lot of potential, got a really good look to her. I like that one. The one coming out next just gets a little bit bigger in her kind again, a bigger outline hog. And when we get them too big or too tall, we just can't get them wide enough. And this one, as she gets taller, she narrows up in her skeleton. And the one that comes out next, she has one issue and a really good kind of a gilt, but she's got a swollen right hock, and it really causes her to not move at all and restricts her movement. Therefore, we have to put that gilt in that seventh place hole. Thank you.
Placings in our Class 3 Duroc breeding gilts. In seventh place goes to Nolan Warren of the Navarro 4H. Sixth place goes to Carly Real, New Berlin 4H. Fifth place goes to Jackson's Kurz, Marion FFA. Fourth place goes to Karen Jo Ruiz of Clemens FFA. Third place goes to Barrett Coleman of the Navarro FFA. Second place goes to Allison Lissy of Steel FFA. And your class winner goes to Baylor Wright, Marion FFA. Congratulations to you all. The winner of the Seguin Swine Breeders Bump Check will be our third place pig. It was shown by Barrett Kuhlman, bred by MT Hart Livestock. Congratulations to you as well. We now have Class 4 Duroc breeding gilts coming in. Our fair dates are from July the 10th through July the 22nd. We have 5 entries. I've been asked to announce that if you have any need for food next door, we have the Knights of Columbus concessions. They've got hamburgers, hot dogs, nachos, popcorn, just about French fries, Frito pie. Every dollar you spend goes right back into supporting our community, and we appreciate the Knights doing that for us. They've worked hard all week long to bring us food and service to us, so let's go out and show some appreciation to them as well. Thank you. I'd like to recognize two young ladies that we have here tonight helping us out with the handing out of ribbons and banners later on. We have Lily John, she's our Guadalupe County Fair Duchess, and Madison Mays, who is our Guadalupe County Fair Princess. Thank you, ladies, for your work. We appreciate it.
Another good class at Durox. Young man's Gilt here in center ring. Here's a really Gilt that's got some tremendous substance of body. I like her feel in her depth aside. She really balances and stays together when you put her in motion. She's elevated at the point of the shoulder. She's got some extension to go along with some true stoutness out through her skull. Big old mug working in her. She's big-footed and heavy bone. Good kind of red hog here to win this particular class. Really good, high-quality underline and high skill. The Gilt in second, really elevated up front. I like this Gilt head carriage, how it comes out of the top of her shoulder and her blades and her extension. She's not as big-legged or big-footed or stout in her features we have in our class winner, but certainly one that's really good in terms of some top shape and fresh and sound and athletic. She's just not as stout in her overall bone work as what we have in that Gilt right hitter. As is the Gilt in third, she frails up a little bit, particularly in terms of we study her in her arm and her back leg. She doesn't have as much terms of feature as what we have in the Gilt that stands directly ahead of her in this class, but a fresh top, extension out front, good-looking kind of Gilt. It's got a great body and muscle shape. The Gilt coming out next just wants to get a little bit frailer or narrower in terms of width. She's got some bone to her, perhaps perhaps more than what we have the Gilt right ahead of her, but she needs to drop some flank, get a little more softer, smoother, pliable middle to her to move her up in this particular class.
Placings in Class 4 Duroc Breeding Gilts. Fifth place goes to Sophia Langford, Navarro FFA. Fourth place goes to Grace Castillo, Navarro FFA. Third place goes to Lexi Meeks, Seguin FFA. Second place goes to Casey Lee Smith, Navarro FFA. And your class winner goes to Urban Wilkes, the Marion FFA. Urban will also receive the Seguin Swine Breeder $100 bump check. And the breeder of his pig was Ryan Coulterman. Congratulations to you all. Coming in our ring now will be Class 5 Duroc Breeding Gilts. These gilts were faired between July the 30th and August the 15th. We have 5 head entered.
in this youngest class got a pair of gilts that are very similar in kind. The one that wins this class really, I love how that head and it comes out of her neck and out of her blade up high, and really got a tremendously good high head carriage, and really carries some expansion and width all the way through, and takes a really long step off both ends. And sometimes she takes such a long step from behind, you wonder if she's kind of awkward or is she right there, but you get in behind her and she's true and wide and hits the same hole with both legs in the back. The young lady here in second, really a very complete, stout kind of a gilt. She too is really good and elevated up front. Gets a little more cresty about her neck than what we have in our class winner, but she's very sound and heavy bone and very similar in kind in terms of got some shape and look to her. A really nice pair of gilts on that top end. The gilt in third is probably the biggest bodied one that comes in this particular class. I think she's full and she looks good. I don't know if she has enough true shape and muscle in her as what we have directly ahead of her, of those two smaller gilts, but really elevated up front, really can walk and sound. I don't see as quite as much muscle, true to script, working down through her top as we get right in behind her. Gilts coming in third and fourth, a pair of gilts to just give us a little more frame size, and both of them need to be opened up a little more in terms of some true width. They as they get taller, sometimes they want to just close up in the chest floor, and this is a prime example of one that just needs to kind of quit growing up and start opening up. Today she just doesn't have enough width to go with her, as is the gilt that comes out in fifth in this particular class, very similar in kind.
Placings in our Class 5 Duroc breeding gilts. Fifth place goes to Lily Zimmermer of the Navarro FFA. Fourth place goes to Kennedy Bentz of New Berlin 4-H. Third place goes to Carson Hendricks, New Berlin 4-H. Second place goes to Jaylee Williams, Marion FFA. And first place goes to Cody Kelso, Marion FFA. Our Seguin swine breeder bump check will be going to Jaylee Williams. Her pig was bred by Ryan Coulterman. We will now be judging for our champion Duroc and reserve champion breeding gilt.
Had a really exceptionally good Duroc show. Let's give these guys a big round of applause. And we raised a few red ones at home, and and it's a tough breed to make them good, to get those feet and legs right and put some shape in them and make them look good. My compliments to the breeders that put this set together. They've done a really good job and got some good things going over here in this part of the world, and I got a good red show. I think all these are really capable of using, and it's kind of like which type do you want or which kind do you like, so to speak. And there's differences a little bit in this particular five. They're all good in their own right, and I kind of gravitate to one because I like hogs that just get up and go and got as much power and shape in them as they got, and then they really got a cool look about them. And I don't think there's a perfect one out here, but there's one that is sure enough a good athlete, sure enough sound, sure enough got a big top and some extension out through the front. That's the young lady in the white, being your champion Duroc.
Your champion Duroc breeding gilt goes to Barley Clufus out of Class 2. She's with the Marion FFA. Congratulations. We will now judge for our reserve.
Bring that second place gilt out. Another high quality individual, but just not quite as long and are extended out through that front third. I think it gets really close between a pair of gilts out here again, and I think you could go either way if what you're doing. One's not wanting to cooperate too much and wants to hang the ring, and then we got one that if you want to pair up one that looks like your champion, then there's one out here that looks very similar, very athletic, very cool and sleek out through his front end. Takes a long step off both ends and got a tremendous amount of shape. Has got that killer look. Young lady right here in front of me, be reserved.
The reserve champion Duroc breeding gilt goes to Cody Kelso, Marion FFA. Congratulations, Cody. We will now go into our next class, which will be the Hampshire breeding gilts. Class 1 Hampshire breeding gilts. We have 6 entries. They were faired between June the 15th and July the 12th. I've been asked to announce that the concession stand, Knights of Columbus concession stand next door, is going to be closing in 15 minutes. So if you need something, you better get over there now. Okay? Thank you. Also, if you're interested, tomorrow morning they will be back. The Knights of Columbus concession stand. They will have breakfast tacos starting at approximately 7 a.m. in the morning if you want to buy tacos from them tomorrow morning. And we'll have lunch available as well. Thank you. Those of you who may have joined us late, I just want to introduce our judge to you. His name is Mr. Charlie Hody. He's a retired ag teacher of 35 years at Burton High School. He's a 1980 graduate of Texas A&M. He's judged pigs in numerous states and enjoys working with young people. He raises show pigs with his two sons, Jason and Sam. Let's everybody give Mr. Hody a big hand. He's done a good job.
Interesting class, and there's some differences here in these first two, and there's some things I like about the second place Gilt, maybe a little more than the first. But I think that we have more positives in our class winner, being the black leg Gilt here right in front of me. She certainly gives us more shape and more rib and more depth of pliable body, especially when we get on the top of her and we get in her rear flank. She's certainly the heaviest boned one of the pair. I like to clean her up in her jawline ever so slightly, but here's one that's relatively sound and big rib and good stout in her body, stout in her skull. I like that extra dimension she has. The Gilt that we have in second, I really like her elevation up front and her length out through her front end and her head and neck and how she ties into her blade. A better fronted kind of a Hampshire Gilt, maybe a truer looking kind of from a breed character. The front 2/3 of her body kind of fits the breed perhaps a little more than our class winner. But where she kind of plays out or runs out of gas a little bit, we get right in behind her, out in her lower third. She really wants to taper off. She doesn't have that extra pop. Get right in behind her. If we get right over the top of her, she's got some cage in her. I like to stouten her up in her bone work, give her a little bit better caboose. She's got a big old engine in her. We just need to fix her up, get right in behind her. The Gilt coming out next is really a square, good kind of a Hampshire Gilt gets a little smaller in this particular class, moderate in her kind, which is not all bad. But in this particular class, she gets out-horsed a little bit in terms of some growth and productivity in that particular drive. But she's square, she's good, she's got a lot of good in her. Gilt coming out next, wants to run downhill a little bit. I like to see her elevated up front, get that head coming out of the top of that spine a little more leveler in terms of her look. But here's a Gilt that's got some bone and she's sound. She doesn't balance up as good as what we have in that class winner.
Congratulations, our placings in our Class 1 Hampshires. In sixth place was Natalie Frost, Steel FFA. Fifth place goes to Cameron Mauricio, Zeal 4H. Fourth place goes to Grant Barbie, Navarro FFA. Third place goes to Gabriela Shamanik Vasquez of Clemens FFA. Second place goes to Carly Real, New Berlin 4H. And your class winner and champion hemp will go to Weston Warrendale, Navarro FFA. Congratulations to you all. Our reserve champ honors go to Carly Real, and she will also receive the Seguin Swine Breeders $100 bump check. Her pig was bred by Real Hog Farm. Congratulations to all our hemp exhibitors. We now have a class of 1. This is the Hereford breed being presented here. We have 1 entry.
We have 1 entry in an interesting breed, and they're really coming on, and you're seeing a lot more, and they've kind of getting down our part of the world. And this is a good Hereford Gilt. I really like her how she's made. She just talk about her as a hog, and let's don't talk about the color. Here's one that she's elevated up front. She's extremely sound. You get on top of this gal, and she's got a big cage in her, big old top in her. She's flexible. We need to style up in her bone work, and I don't know if that's maybe a breed thing, but as we go along, and they're going to make this breed better and stouter, we can stouten her up in her feature, and then she's got all the other things that you need to compete at a very high level, but very sound. The basics we got covered. She's elevated up front. She's got a big cage in her. She's extremely sound. I think it's a very high quality Hereford Gilt, and she's worthy of being in that champion drive we'll have here in just a few minutes when we get through with the regular show. Give this youngster a round of applause. By God, he won.
Congratulations to Dalton Pollock of Navarro FFA, and he will be your champion Hereford as well. Next class going in, we have our Landrace breeding gilts. These gilts were bred June 9th and July 18th. We have 2 entries. Landrace breeding gilts.
Our Landrace division, we have 2 entries, and you have this is your grand and reserve, but they're high quality, and they deserve to be so. The Gilt here, the young man in center ring will win this. Here's a big-bodied Gilt, and what we've been talking about all night to get one that's sound and flexible and really got some extension out front, but yet not kind of wimpy-headed, really stout about its look, and got some bone and foot size, and really opens up great when she comes at you. Very high quality gilt to win this class. The gilt in second is really good in her own right. She doesn't flex her back. Pasterns on her hawk is good. She doesn't grab the ground with as much confidence and as ease as what we have in our class winner. She's not as heavy boned. She's not as soft and pliable in her middle as what we have in that class winner, but a very high quality kind of land raised gilt that we have here in second. Very good, interesting pair.
And congratulations to our Landrace exhibitors. First place was Brooks Baker, Marion FFA. Second place is Isabella Hartman, Navarro FFA. Brooks will be your champion, and Isabella will be your reserve breed champion for the Landrace breed. We're now getting into our Poland China breeding gilts. We have 4 entries in our first class. They were fared from June the 11th through June the 17th. Poland China.
You got an interesting class, and even the Gilt I put in third or fourth. There's a place for these hogs. You got to decide kind of where you want, and if you're going to breed them, do they make the next generation better? And that's my thought process in placing this class. With that said, the young man here in center ring wins this class. She's the most elevated Gilt up front. She gives us the most extension up front, yet you get on top of her. She's got a lot of muscle and a lot of cage working in her. She really comes at you good. She opens up good in the sternum and the bottom of her chest floor. She takes a long stride. She's got plenty of muscle for me. I think she's the one that you could make the next generation better in these breeding Gilts. That's kind of where we're at with this in terms of if you're looking at them, because you got 4 different kind, where you're going to go. The young lady on the other end kind of follows suit. This Gilt's a little bigger legged, a little stouter bone. She's made like your class winner. She's not as fresh and as big and as stout up high. She's not quite as opened up through the center part of her blade as we have in our class winner, but she patterns the same. We got to bring this Gilt to some muscle, and I think she could make the next generation better. Then we got a pair of interesting Polands, and I think both of them got a lot of good in them. The young man's got a really wide-based hog coming at you, one going away wide, coming at you. As long as she's out here, she's struggling just a little bit. The young lady's Gilt here is a problem for me. A big cage in it, tremendous arm in it, maybe gets a little steeper, a little rounder in that muscle, need a bigger back leg in it, but a tremendous amount of body. And there's a place for this one too. They're all 4 interesting hogs, just an interesting, very challenging class.
Placings in our Class 1 Poland China breeding Gilts. 4th place goes to Lexi Meeks, Seguin FFA. 3rd place goes to Cade Pape, Marion FFA. 2nd place goes to Maddie Schoolcraft, Marion FFA. And your class winner is Luke Bell of the Santa Clara 4-H Club. His pig was bred by Kelso Genetics and will receive the Seguin Swine Breeders $100 bump check. Congratulations. We now have Class 2 Poland China breeding Gilts. We have 4 entries. The fairing dates on these Gilts are from July the 2nd through July the 28th. Again, I want to recognize our Seguin swine breeders. Every year at this show, the breeding show and the market show, they donate $100 is available, I should say, for every class of pigs that comes through here, whether it be breeding or market. The highest placing pig that was purchased from a Seguin swine breeder will receive that $100 bump check. The Seguin swine breeders consist of the following breeders: Real Hog Farm, Kelso Genetics, Marshall Stry, Robert Hebner, Daggy Show Pigs, St. Hedwig Feeds, Phi Show Pigs, Alderson Farms, 4L Show Pigs, Schulze Show Pigs, MT Hart Livestock, Corcoran Genetics, Bubba Eckert, Beck Show Pigs, James Langemeyer, Ryan Coulterman, and Quick Pin Genetics. Thank you, gentlemen, for all that y'all do.
another interesting class. But with that said, got an easy class winner in just judge's opinion. Here's one that's really what we've been talking about all night. When you put a hog in motion, that everything stays together. This hog is really tremendously balanced, elevated up front, clean about his head and jawline, but yet real stout about its skull and his stonework. Really put together extremely well. I think a very high quality kind of Poland gilt. The gilt we have in second certainly gives us that extra cage and that extra width and power, just not quite as blended or it's not as balanced as what we have in that class winner, but a real power hog in terms of muscle, shape, and width. And for having all that power, she handles it quite well. Coming in third, we get a gilt that just starts to plane out just a little bit as we study her down her top. She gets a little nondescript in terms of the shape. Needs to be a little more up-hitted in terms of her look, but a really good gilt from a side profile, really well presented. And the young man gilt comes out here in fourth. When she drives right at you, she's really base narrow in terms of how she's made. She's really good from the side. From a side profile, you really want to get on her, but and want to use her. But when she comes at you and she goes away, she just goes in the same hole in terms of base width, particularly when you drive her right at you.
Placings in Class 2 Poland China breeding gilts. Fourth place goes to Weston Warrendale of the Navarro FFA. Third place goes to Joy Castillo of the Navarro FFA. Second place goes to Braden Forts, Marion FFA. And your class winner is Cody Kelso with the Marion FFA. Cody will also receive the $100 bump check from Kelso Genetics. Congratulations. We will now judge for our champion Poland China breeding gilt.
Another very nice pair in your champion drive. And there's one out here that just really gives us that balance and really gets us a little more better pin set in terms of that hand blowing junction, smoother, wider, heavier bone, particularly in his back leg. I think a very fault-free, easy one to see in my mind. It's athletic and still got all the whistles and both bells and whistles. I like the young lady's lightweight, a younger gilt to win.
Champion Poland China breeding gilt goes to Cody Kelso, Marion FFA. Congratulations.
Bring that second place gilt out. She gets a little rounder and not quite as easy and as athletic as what we have. I think we have another very high quality gilt to follow that champion. She's not quite as powerful as we get right in behind her in that pin set. Maybe tracks a little bit narrow, not quite as stout as legged from behind as that champion, but I think still a very high quality kind of Poland gilt. Young man right here be reserved.
Reserve champion breeding Poland China breeding gilt goes to Luke Bell, Santa Clara 4-H. Congratulations. Our next class of breeding gilts will be the spotted Poland China group. We have class 1 gilts ferret from June the 16th through June the 22nd. And we have 6 entries in our first class.
You have two exceptionally high quality spot gilts in this particular pair. The young man's predominantly blacker spot gilt. Here's one that's really got that killer look. She's elevated up through her front end. She's really sound and basic in her movement. She's really packing some bone, particularly in that back leg. Get on top of her, and she's really, really fresh and ultra square. We study her coming out of her rib cage and back into her top line when she gets into a big square pin set. Really a good kind of a gilt and certainly a high quality underline underneath that gilt. The one in second is certainly a one that when she came in, I thought this one would be hard to get around, and she still is that way. Just gets beat by an exceptionally good one. I think this gilt's extremely good. She's really sound and comfortable out here. You really appreciate that about her. She, too, has got a big old cage in her, a long, level hip, really elevated up front, perhaps maybe just not quite as fancy up through her neck and head as what we have in our class winner, but I think a very high quality spot gilt we have in second. And I really like the broodiness and the sow power that we have in the one coming out next. This is probably the biggest caged one in there in terms of coming right at you in her chest floor. She's maybe not quite as flexible right up through her front end. She may be a little stiffer out here, but here's a gilt that's really good. She's got tremendous body and cage in her. I like her. Maybe not quite as having that look that we have in those other two, but these top three, some high quality spot gilts. The gilt coming out next, she's got those ears up, and from a breed standpoint, a character standpoint, if that's a bear, it's gonna get in trouble tonight. I know that gilt's probably as pure as she can be, and I'm not questioning that at all. The ears don't bother me in this particular class. We need to make this gilt wider. Just open her up in her chest floor, and as she goes through the ground, particularly coming right at us, and as she leaves, we could just give her some base width coming and going. We could move her right up there too. A really stout, interesting class.
Thank you, Judge. Our placings in our first class of spotted Poland China breeding gilts. In sixth place goes to Madison Weeding Brooks of Skeen FFA. Fifth place goes to Brindley Stevenson, Clemens FFA. Fourth place goes to Callie Marie Troger, Navarro FFA. Third place goes to Shanton Shadrock of the Marion FFA. Second place goes to Gabriela Shimonik Vasquez of Clemens FFA. And your class winner is Jake Schultz, Marion FFA. Jake also will be receiving the Seguin Swine Breeders bump check. His pig was bred by Alderson Farms. Congratulations.
I have that backwards. Is that 5-2? You know that's right.
Coming in our ring now will be Class 2 Spotted Poland China breeding gilts. These gilts were ferreted from July 4th through August 2nd.
another high quality gilt that wins this class. This is the big broody one in this particular class, and I'll be the first to tell you I'd like to flex her up from behind. She wants to step out of her skeleton ever so slightly. You get right in behind her, stab to the right or stab to the left, however which way you want to comment on that. But let's talk about the good things in her. Here's one that's tremendously big cage, just huge body in her. I liked her soft, pliable middle that she has. She's cool about her neck and head and her front end. She got impeccable width coming at you, impeccable width going away. We just need to take a little out of her, make her go better to compete down the road just a little bit. But an awfully good kind of gilt in first. I really like some things about this one in second. She's a stout version of the same kind of gilt that we used. She needs to be stout on her bone work, maybe a little cresty about her neck. She's stouting her up in her overall feature, but she's flexible, she can go, and I really like the shape that she has. I think this gilt here, fed right, could compete when she gets down the road also. Maybe a little straighter from behind. She stabs the ground just ever so slightly. Then we get a pair of gilts coming out here in fourth and fifth that simply need to be wider made and just more center body and maybe a little fresher doing kind of gilts that we have. And both are very similar in kind. Actually, the one that comes out in fourth place here is the big, heavy boned one of the pair, but she's a little rawer, a little tighter in her rib cage than we have in the gilt right directly ahead of her.
Placings in our Class 2 Spotted Pole and China Breeding Gilts. Fourth place goes to Cheyenne Coleman, Navarro FFA. Third place goes to Lily Zimmermer of the Navarro FFA. Second place goes to Casey Lee Smith, Navarro FFA. And your class winner is Cameron Mauricio, Zeal 4-H. Cameron will also receive the Seguin Swine Breeder Rump Check. The breeder of her hog is MT Hart Livestock. Congratulations. We'll now be judging for our champion Spotted Pole and China Breeding Gilt.
Really a nice pair of gilts that give us a lot of things to really, truly offer. There's one out here that's really got that impeccable look and the balance and her length of hip, but yet a stout hip and really big-legged. There's one out here that suits me extremely good. I like the young man's gilt in center to be your champion.
Champion spot goes to Jake Schultze, Marion FFA. Congratulations.
We stepped that second place gilt out, and here's another one that I commented on about being big centered and a soft, pliable middle, yet elevated at the front shoulder, and this long and clean about her neck, and a very attractive gilt. And both these gilts got a ton of good in them here. The one that gives me more athleticism and can get up and go be the young lady's gilt right here, be reserved.
And your reserve champion spotted breeding gilt will go to Gabriela Shamanic Vasquez, Clemens FFA. Congratulations. Coming up next will be our Yorkshire breeding gilts. We have one class. 5 individuals will be in this class. Their fair dates will be 7-2 to 7-24. Yorkshire breeding gilts.
nice gilt to win this class. One that comes out here and is really sound and flexible and takes a long, relaxing kind of a stride off both ends. And I like to see a little more middle in her, just a little softer through the center part of her body. But here's a gilt that's really, really got a big arm in her, really long and extended, really an easy class winner. The gilt in third resembles the one that wins the class, but she gets a little bit narrow in her chest, and she's not as good through the center part of her blades. The gilt I move ahead of her in second. Here's a gilt that's really stouter about her skull. She gives us maybe a shot more bone. She's really got a little more cage in her. You get her going, she's up hit it. She balances. There's more body and a little softer middle in this particular gilt that we have in second. The gilt in third just wants to narrow up a little frailer through the center part of her blades. She comes right at you and she hits the surfaces a bit too narrow for me, but a really gilt that profiles really good. She just needs to come at me with a little more power. I really like the width and the power that you have in the gilt coming out next. The longer she's out here, she wants to stab a little bit, gets a little stouter in terms of movement. We need to flex her up off both ends. Heavy bone, a lot of muscle in this gilt. It's got to soften her up, make her go. You can move her up.
Placings in our Yorkshire breeding gilts. Fifth place goes to Madison Love, Marion FFA. Fourth place, Weston Warrendale, Navarro FFA. Third place goes to Claire Rial, New Berlin 4-H. Second place goes to Nicole Frost, Steel FFA. And first place goes to Carly Rial of the New Berlin 4-H. Carly will also receive the Seguin Swine Breeders bump check. Her pig was bred by Rial Hog Farm. Carly will also become the champion breeding gilt for the Yorkshire class. Reserved honors will go to Nicole Frost with her second place pig. Congratulations. We will now get into our cross breeding gilt class. Our first class will have 5 entries. And these will be going by weight, not by age.
Really a nice start to your cross class. Young ladies Gilt there in the green, one that's really opened up and comes at you really like they need to, yet she starts from the nose backwards in terms of being a big old stout skull in there, but yet ultra clean, opens up extremely good up high and get in behind her. She's got a big leg and she's sound. She walks. She's not happy about being out here, but she can walk. She can handle it. She's the big power hog that can go. Got the extras. The athleticism in the Gilt that we have in second allows her to beat the one in third. The one in third gives us more power and a little more look and maybe a stout more bone. But this hog here has got plenty, and she can flat get up and go, and that is extremely important in my books. And when I look at hogs, they've got to be able to walk. I say you got to have the look to get pinned, but you got to walk to win. Bring out that spotted hog, and there's one she's got it now. This one's made as good as any in the class, and if we could just soften her up and make her go a little better, that one rivals your class winner. Maybe she's tied together a little better, but she gets a little stout, she's a little stiff. I mean, you get right in behind her, she could flex her up just a little bit. Instead of picking her feet up in the back, she wants to drag them into sawdust a little bit. Now here's a Gilt that can really get up and go, but she doesn't have enough in her today. I think this Gilt's got a tremendous future if you just turn her loose, and I think she's a little greener, a little later maturing. This Gilt's big bone, sound, and good looking. Today she gets beat by some hogs that got a little more in her, maybe a little more show ready. Good class. Thank you.
Placings in our first class of crossbred Gilts. Fifth place goes to Weston Warrendale, Navarro FFA. Fourth place, Briley Clufus, Marion FFA. Third place goes to Braden Forts, Marion FFA. Second place goes to Cody Kelso, Marion FFA. And your class winner is Baylor Wright, Marion FFA. Baylor will also receive the Seguin Swine Breeders bump check. His pig was bred by MT Hart Livestock. Congratulations. We now have our second class of cross pig Gilts coming in. We will have 5 entries. They will weigh between 217 pounds and 225 pounds. Cross breeding Gilts.
excellent class. All five are really excellent, high quality individuals. Young man's York up here in Gilt on the far side wins this class. Here's one that's just in terms of balance. Here's one that when you put her in, put this Gilt in motion, she's elevated at the point of the blades. She comes at you really wide and bold in the bottom of the chest and the sternum. You just study her out of her top line. Tremendous. Her transition is so good back into her cage and back through her hip, and she's standing on some really, really big fat legs, and she got some hair. I know they don't sound all that important to some, but it makes them look good. She's your class winner. The Gilton second. She's big-legged. She's hairy. She's got some same things. I don't know. I don't think she's too long, but she's not quite as deep-sided. She doesn't have quite that soft, pliable center to it that we have in that class winner, but a very high-quality kind of a Gilt here that's really, really, really good in terms of big-legged, extended. She pushes just a little bit of it down in on her jowl line, not much. I like that hog a lot. And I really like the one coming out next. She doesn't have as big as arm as we have as these other two. If she comes right at you, she hits the surface just a trifle bit narrower than what you have in those two ahead of her. She's not quite as big in her ankle up front as what we have in those two. But that's a very high-quality Gilt. Really good kind of a crossbred Gilt to be in this particular class. Got a great look, big cage in her, sound. And I really like the one in fifth. She just doesn't have quite as much power in terms of some feature and bone. Maybe you get right in behind her. She's not quite as powerful as what we have directly ahead of her. But this is the smoothest, soundest, easiest one in terms of movement in this class. She just gives up a little bit in terms of some sheer power. Really good class.
Placings in our Class 2 cross Gilts. Fifth place goes to Jay Sullivan, Clemens 4-H. Fourth place goes to Emily Clutter, Marion FFA. Third place goes to Hayden Pompa, Clemens FFA. Second place goes to Cass Pape, Marion FFA. And first place, and your class winner is Chase Cologne with the Marion FFA. Your Seguin Swine Breeders bump check will be going to Hayden Pompa. His Gilt was bred by Empty Heart Livestock. We will now have coming in our ring our third and final class of cross breeding Gilts. The weights are from 256 to 306. We have 4 head entered.
excellent pair of gilts right here. I think both have tremendous qualities to offer, however you want to do it. In a breeding particular class, we get a little more extension out here, maybe not quite as cresty in her neck. Our class winner's a little smoother in its jawline, a little smoother out through the crest. Comes out of its top of its blade, tremendous cage, really sound and flexible, and takes that long step off both end. And then again, she's got that soft, pliable middle to go with that tremendous amount of body and cage, and she'll still maintain some look. This black hog is one big-legged, stout creature. She's got a big skull in her. She comes at you tremendously good. She just maybe a notch shorter up through the front third of her body, not quite as long and extended. Get it right in behind her. She hits the surface just a trifle bit narrow compared to our class winner, but that's a really good, solid black gilt that's really heavy bone and good looking. And if you swap those pair, that's okay. I think there's just more true balance in our class winner, like that pair a bunch. The gilt in third, really heavy boned and really stout and good in her look. She just doesn't quite have the power that we have directly ahead of her. She run into some deep water here, and a pair of cross gilts in 1 and 2 that are really good. We could clean her up in her jawline just a little bit, but she's big-legged, stout, and got some center body in her. That's going to make a really good brood sow in terms of breeding her. In terms of her breeding gilt, she got some real qualities in her. The black-headed gilt coming out next here right now is one that's really, really, really good in terms of her top line. She doesn't have quite as much rear flank in her. When she gets out here and she goes a little fast, she kind of wants to wobble just a little bit from side to side. We could fix her up there. But again, another high-quality kind of crossbred gilt that's got some real quality to her. I like her soft, pliable middle that she brings as a breeding gilt.
Thank you, Judge. Our placings in Class 3, crossbred breeding gilts. Fourth place goes to Brody Woodley, Kingsbury 4-H. Third place goes to Bodie Woodley, Kingsbury 4-H. Second place goes to Morgan Booker, Navarro FFA. And first place goes to Cameron Mauricio, Zeal 4-H. Congratulations. Our Seguin swine breeder bump check will be going to our third place pig, Bodie Woodley, and that pig was bred by Corcoran Genetics. We will now judge for our champion crossbred breeding gilt.
All three of these gilts are extremely good, and in terms of making that next generation or making that litter of pigs that you could take a bear and go compete at a major level, I think all three can do that at a very high level. They're all got some really good qualities to them. They're all big in their cage. They're fresh, and they got some power. They got big feet in them. They got good toe size, and it's kind of, each one is probably, if you fell in love with one, you can make a case for one. But I always like to go with something that's got that extra power and really one that takes the longest step off both ends. And because, like I say, you have to have that running gear that gives you that extra. And I think they're all very acceptable in that. But for a hog to have that much power and that much look and take that long a step, I like the young lady's heavyweight to be your champion.
And your champion crossbred breeding gilt goes to Cameron Mauricio, Zeal 4-H. We'll now judge for our reserve grand.
When we bring that black gilt in, that was second behind your eventual champion. Here's one that, again, that's a good hog. And I'm quite sure I got that right, but then again, I'm not sure. But I'm not going to make the mistake and leave her out here. That gilt will be reserved right there, the black one.
Your reserve champion crossbreeding gilt will go to Morgan Booker, Navarro FFA. Congratulations. In just a few minutes, we're going to go ahead and reload all our champion, breed champion, and reserve champions, and we'll be judging for our overall supreme breeding gilt. Give us a few minutes, get this all aligned, and we'll go back through our champions and reserve champions and give you their names and breeds that they represent. Thank you. All right, we're going to announce them in the order that they came out for the show. Our champion Burke goes to Lily Zimmer. Our reserve will be in the background. That reserve Burke goes to Braley Wise Clemens FFA. Lily is with the Navarro FFA. Our champion Chester goes to Hayden Pompa, Clemens FFA. Reserve goes to Chase Cologne, Marion FFA. Our champion Duroc goes to Briley Clufus, Marion FFA. Reserve champion goes to Cody Kelso, Marion FFA. Our Hamp champion goes to Weston Warrendale, Navarro FFA. Our reserve Hamp goes to Carly Real, New Berlin 4-H. Our Hereford champion goes to Dalton Pollock of the Navarro FFA. Our Landrace champion belongs to Brooks Baker, Marion FFA. And the reserve Landrace goes to Isabella Hartman, Navarro FFA. The champion Poland China goes to Cody Kelso, Marion FFA. Your reserve champion Poland China goes to Luke Bell of the Santa Clara 4-H. Our spotted Poland China champion goes to Jake Schulze, Marion FFA. Our reserve spotted Poland China goes to Gabriela Shimalanik Vasquez of the Clemens FFA. Our champion York goes to Carly Real, New Berlin 4-H. Your reserve York Gilt goes to Nicole Frost, Steel FFA. Our last but not least is our cross champion goes to Cameron Mauricio, Zeal 4-H. And reserve champion goes to Morgan Baker, Navarro FFA. They're all yours, Judge. While our judge makes his selection, we want to go ahead and announce and thank our sponsor of our breeding show belt buckles goes to the champion and reserve champion. The reserve champion gilt buckle is donated by St. Hedwig Feed and Supply, Vince Fankoviak and family. Our champion gilt belt buckle is in memory of Lauren Warndell, and it's donated by the family of Michael Warndell. Thank you very much.
If you could, please, let's give these youngsters a big round of applause. What a great job. You had a great breeding show. And, you know, a lot of these gilts here I know were bred and right here in this county. And what a compliment to those swine breeders you have here in this area to bring this kind of set of gilts. It's tremendously good. I know a lot of these gilts are going to be going to San Antonio, and they'll be very competitive, and they'll show across some of the best gilts in the United States. That's a worldwide show there, so they'll have to be very good to compete. I think you had a great set, and you can reach in there, and I think there's 2 or 3 that kind of surface to the top, and I think there's kind of a preference of choice, or perhaps maybe, but I guess when I get around to analyzing them, when I look for power and I look for look and balance and what I can find that can get up and go and yet very, very comfortable and still maintains all that we can put in a package. And still the one that I think can lay down and have pigs and be okay, and it's not too radical in its muscle, but yet got that soft, pliable center, but yet has plenty of the extras and can get up and go and just get up on the crate and eat and lay back down and nurse those pigs and do that, and yet have all those bells and whistles. The one that suits me the best, young ladies, crossbred to be your champion.
Congratulations, Cameron Mauricio, Seal 4-H. You have your grand champion breeding gilt. Congratulations.
We dropped that solid black gilt out here that was reserved. Just a powerful individual and really got some bone and got everything that you would like and get on top of it, and this is very impressive. There's another one out here that intrigues me, and I really like the extra little length of face and maybe a little extra length of neck, not quite as cresty, but still big in his top, and got an impeccable look and a great hind leg. It can really go. It's got a super good underline. I like the young man's spot to be reserved.
And your reserve champion breeding gilt goes to Jake Schulze, Marion FFA. Congratulations.